get ready to dive into the fascinating universe of Web3 and digital fashion. I'm Arthur Lee, your podcast pilot for today, and I'd like to introduce you to the Web3 whiz and metaverse maven, Olivia Lee. Now, Olivia is the powerhouse behind LIVVIUM, making waves by turning the metaverse into everyone's playground. She's not just any techie guru. She has an eclectic 15-year adventure diving into everything from NFTs to brand identities. Now, her sweet spot is her passion for telling epic digital stories where everyone gets to be the star. LIVVIUM isn't just a venture, it's her dream of a Web3 world that's open, fun for everyone. Now, she is also helping brands and those adventurous enough to navigate the digital world. And to round it out, she's also impacting the digital fashion scene with All Stars Women, fighting the good fight for gender balance in Web3. So yeah, that was a mouthful. Welcome to the show, Olivia. Now, is there anything that you would like to add to this introduction I just given you?
Absolutely not. Hi, Arthur. It's so awesome to be here. And I have to say, that was one epic introduction. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, the only one little thing I'd like to add is I call myself a metaverse explorer as well. I just love jumping into all of the vast space and bringing all of those insights, digesting it, and sharing it out to the rest of the world is something I like to share as well.
Look, I first noticed you when you started posting a lot more content on LinkedIn, and I have to say it's been not just informative. The use of colors, graphics, and videos has really caught my eye, and actually, I'm sure a lot of other people have it's caught their attention as well. So that's why I got you on the show, to kind of get
It's so
into
glad.
your head. Yeah.
Oh, thank you
Uh,
so much.
yeah. Okay. Well, look, let's first, okay, we've got this episode's gonna be broken into several segments. And first, I'd like to cover something where we just talk about the connected user journey and talk about some of the concepts that maybe that you've worked on before and like what's going out there and what people are trying to create and deliver to the end consumer. So one of the first question I'd like to ask you is you can help explain the concept of what a connected user journey is in the digital realm and why it's important for businesses today.
Oh, yeah, I'd absolutely love to expand on this topic. Firstly, I have to talk about before there was a connected user journey. What was it before? It was really about user experience, maybe user interface, and the user journey. So, the connected user experience or the connected user journey, I'd like to think of it is employing or deploying the use of a possibly NFT as the token to signify that you are part of a brand's ecosystem and that through your movements within that roadmap, whatever the brand activation may have, then we can use that to kind of track and understand and also open up to a dual kind of approach where a brand can also guide the user into where kind of what kind of aspect of their brand journey may be. But at the same time, because that user is part of that brand's ecosystem, it also allows that user to also kind of share their experiences, their kind of wants, and what they want to see in that particular brand activation or brand
Okay.
ecosystem.
Right, right. So, can you put it into more context? Like, give us some examples, I guess real world examples of this, what a connected user journey is. Like, I don't know, maybe on something that you've worked on before?
Okay, not necessarily what I worked on, even though some of my ideation projects, I definitely have that concept in mind. So I think
Hmm.
anything that has a bit of like a economy design where a maybe there's tokens used, where there's rewards, gamification, incentives, all of this would fall into this kind of connected user journey. But I think one of the best examples, or one that's more like that's happening, that's readily available right now, would be a brand such as, I would say something like Hugo Boss. Okay, so Hugo Boss is using this idea of a connected user journey through launch of projects or NFT based projects that allows their target audience within a very segmented type to experience a particular journey. So, for example, Hugo Boss came up with a project with, I think it's called the Invisible Friends, if I remember correctly. I think this was a couple, maybe a year ago, that one of their first launch was doing a project with, I think it's called Invisible Friends. So that is already with the connected journey, because ideally there's a collaboration between this PFP project and then Hugo Boss's project with an underlying NFT as one of the tokens that the client would get. So when they purchase this item, they would get I think it was a digital item that has an NFC, a physical item that has an NFC chip in it. And then once it's scanned, it launches a different sort of activation. So I wasn't very clear on exactly what happened in that project, but what it means is that allows that user to wholeheartedly fall into that ecosystem and tick off that sort of experience that project started. So that's one way to say it. Another way of a user journey would be through their immersive experiences, where Hugo Boss created a immersive showroom where their clientele can jump into the space and experience the Hugo Boss in a lifetime show that was reflected in the real. This is just a suggestion, huh? I'm just using Hugo Boss as an example, but these are real fact that they have done. So they had probably a Discord and a digital twin of an item, and then that allows these people who holds that NFT to access the Discord. And then through that, they may have rewards and perks. And then one of the rewards and perks is they have the opportunity to go to the spring, summer fashion show in, say, Miami. And that allows that user to have an opportunity to sit in the front row. And those that were not able to go or choose not to go have the opportunity to go to the immersive experience in real time, and through the use of a NFT or sort of like a digital asset, it allows the brand to kind of work with and get to know the user, and of course vice versa.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. So I guess if you think about it, it really changes the way of what you would imagine happened before with user acquisition and loyalty programs, right? And in a way, you may go in and you're reliant on the sales staff to more or less sell you on, whatever it is that for whatever program that they have. And then what typically happens is, you got to spend a certain amount of money. Like I'll give you an example. This happened to me. There was a point in time in my life I would buy a lot of Under Armour stuff because I was into like athleisure wear or sports apparel. Then when it opened up here in Hong Kong, I would go into the store and they had some program, but I had to think I had to spend a certain amount of money first, right? And then they collect your email, but then after that, it's not much at all, right? It kind of like they might get my birthday, send me emails on my birthday. They know my age, or I'm a guy. So I don't know what they really do that for that, except when they send me emails, it's based on products that may fit me, I guess, right? Or what I bought in the past. But I feel like it's not that connected. It's very hands off, right? And then if I go, it all it does is keeps me notified, and then I go in. But I guess in what you're talking about, you use the NFT to create this other experience to drive him to Discord, right? So you're driving him in this different way of not saying like, oh yeah, in order to join this program, tap here, like our Facebook page, tap here, like our Instagram. It's kind of like these weird things, and you don't even know why you're doing it, right? It's all just to get into that program. But now you can actually create what I actually see, what you're explaining to me is something that really is more connected and it feels more natural. I think that's the main thing. It doesn't feel so forced, right? And then the rewards actually sound much better as well, right? You can inspire a different type of experience. Yeah.
No, that's a really great point. Actually, on that note, with the original or existing CRM programs, is that
Mm,
they are asking you to do certain things like your Facebook, join our Instagram. But all of this part, if you think about it, it's pretty much anything that happens exists in the existing world of marketing right now can
mm,
very well be adapted into, say, a Web3 ecosystem. It's just that in my definition, I like to think that there is some sort of NFT involved in the ecosystem. So you're bringing into that brand's world of collaboration, and you
right.
can say on chain, because on chain will ultimately mean that there is a hyper realistic and hyper personalization for the word immersive commerce, which is something that I like to think about. So with the CRM, stuff like that, all of stuff that's happening is still in existence right now, but it's going to be
Yeah.
moved into a different way, which is using an NFT for this connected experience. And one thing is, when you have CRM systems in existence or loyalty programs, a lot of the times is that that brand is the one who deciphers what you must do, right? You need to use up these points by a certain time. You need to make a certain purchase in order to redeem this. You cannot trade or sell your points to someone who values it more than you. And that kind of brings into why I believe the next level of quote unquote loyalty or CRM falls into this wide space of Web3 ecosystem, because you, Arthur, as the owner of your Under Armour points, you can be within Under Armour's ecosystem where other users also value the points maybe more than you do and is willing to sell or trade in, say, within, it could be an open marketplace or within Under Armour's marketplace. So I think that's sort of where the beauty would lie, and it will elevate the entire engagement too, because then I'm a long-term loyal user of Under Armour, because I know that it also understands my needs too, which may not be I need to redeem things every time. Maybe I like to buy my Under Armour, but I don't need to use my reward points, but I get value, financial value, if somebody else was to, say, purchase it off of me.
Right, right, right. Well, actually, this is a great segue into my next question. I was just going to ask, like, okay, so what strategies then should businesses employ to create this new experience, personalized experience that spans multiple touch points in a different manner? Because, like you said, they have probably invested a lot of money into these CRM systems, and I guarantee you, they probably collect a lot of data that is, in my opinion, not used, right? I mean, sure, the average basket size, the dollar amount, how, the frequency of visits to the store. Actually, they don't even have that unless you actually buy something. They don't know that you're coming in to peruse and stuff like that. And, there used to be IoT, right? So Internet of Things, where you're using Bluetooth to try to track people's location base if they come into the store. Like, what do you think? What is the strategies to now look forward on creating a new experience? There's so much technology out there these days.
Well, that's a really good question. I'm making a little note because I don't want to make sure hit it. Well, okay, so on that point, I think in terms of strategy, like realistically, pragmatically speaking, as in what consumers are readily okay for. I think gamification, online experiences, using Web2 tools, things that we are comfortable with, like say QR codes, is obviously something we're very familiar with especially the rise of using QR codes in the last couple of years. I've noticed like menus are all like menuless now, and a lot of stuff are cashless by using a scan, all that kind of stuff. That's one way to get people into this sort of ecosystem. So I'm not going to go off a tangent and be like, oh, plug in your wallet. It's going to get this hyper know everything about Arthur, going to tailor made this wonderful immersive commerce that's going to be different from mine to yours to engage you. We can talk about that, later in the segment, I'm sure. But what I want to say is you have to make it easy for the consumers right now. And some of the ways are ways that we are already comfortable with. So originally I would have said, like, if you have a item and it has a digital twin, and when you scan it, you can have access to the Discord, and you can be a part of the brand DAO, and I can definitely go there. But I want to say that probably the easiest way now is to move things back into the real world. Like anything that has rebates, instant discounts, or instant vouchers or coupons or something are probably a lot easier to drive people into the physical store. So the best way, I think, strategy now I also know how to roll back a bit and not go off like a very elevated Web3 roadmap, because we all, as Web3 marketers and strategists, we all know how to step back a few steps in the last 6 months, I have to say. So it's
Yeah.
probably something that can bring them using Web2 elements to take you to a touch of this sort of connected user journey. But then whatever you experience in this sort of immersive space, or maybe an immersive commerce space, or maybe has an element of web AR or AI, bring them back by collecting points that they can use in the real world for physical redemption. I
Mm.
think that's probably one way that I think is smart. So somebody that I talk to quite a lot, we actually were brainstorming these kind of ideas. And for example, right, we were talking about, imagine if there is a sneaker brand, okay? It could be any sneaker brand. And then how do we engage these Gen Z, which is something that we talk about quite often, to kind of tap into this immersive commerce, and that will also result in real dollars and revenues for the brand, because
Mm.
brands now have to have their KPIs and the return on investment. So how will we do it? At first, I was thinking, well, you can issue a NFT that would enable the brand's children, if it was a kid-friendly type of project, to kind of design a project where they can design and doodle on their sneaker brand, and then they can vote on it, and possibly when they vote on it, maybe one of these items are going to be produced and they can get royalty off it, etc., etc. It could have went that way.
Mm.
But essentially,
Mm.
this friend and I were talking about, nothing gets parents more excited than to like round up having kids learn something online, experience this sort of like new Web3 ecosystem, but it actually results in you saving dollars in your pocket. So for example, if a child is part of a sneaker brand ecosystem, and they have the ability and accessibility, assuming safe space, to kind of explore and learn more about a brand's heritage, health ideas, running challenges, etc. But then whatever they earn, points that they accumulate, means the parent can use those points and kind of go back to the physical stores and get instant like $20 off the pair of shoes. So I think this is
Mm.
like something that we've been thinking about. I think most of us are kind of like tapping in back to just real world, the circular of online back to offline and getting instant bucks off. Something like that would be a good strategy.
Okay. I'm going to tell you something. That answer that you've just given is a clear example of what you're talking about. And I'm sorry, I have to. I don't. You know why? Because that's exactly. It's in line with how I think too. Is that I've been in tech for a long time. It's very easy to get excited about this new tech coming into play. From a business perspective, business may pay for a POC, but they're not going to really invest in it until it becomes, in a way, mainstream. Look at how long it took QR codes to really take on, right? It didn't happen overnight, and it's been around for quite some time, right? Um, and so I think you related. I guess your example shows that actually what business need to do is not go crazy and think so stress about too much. The fact is, you got to make it relatable. You got to make it easy, right, for people to participate. And like you said, step in. It's only the first step. They don't need to feel everything or understand everything that they're gonna through a different immersive experience. It's probably too much, overwhelming, to be honest, right? It's kind of like hey, let me get my feet wet, right? And that's it. Yeah.
I totally agree. The idea is have it available, but you don't have to push your customers to experience it. No one's making you
Mm,
have to buy things in a immersive commerce setting. Maybe in the next couple of years, we will see websites adapt that gives you an option, where you can toggle on and off if you want to do it a 3D gaming shopping experience with my friend Arthur in real time, right? Or I still prefer to do it I would like to think like 2D more flat way, but I'm comfortable. So I think you have to give room for people to find their comfort zone at their own pace.
mm,
So I think it's a good
okay.
way to talk about this. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move into the next piece of our segment, I guess, is around empowering communities. And once again, perfect segue into this because, essentially what we're talking about is really understanding the customer base that you're trying to go after, what they're ready for, and how to create an experience that's not overwhelming is the best way to put it. So when we're looking at this, how have you seen like other brands or just in general communities out there where they actually are building it well and they basically are good at building brand advocacy within the community and customer engagement? I guess, what have you seen out there that you felt like, oh,
Okay.
this is a really good experience? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. I mean, the word empower community is a little bit more specific than community. We hear the word
Mm,
community a lot, right? It's such a
mm,
buzzword across every industry, across the field. But I think the idea of empowered community, again, it means both ways, right? So brands no longer dictate what they want you to know about them. Naturally, the brand's ethos, DNA, history, you cannot mess with it because they should have a very whole strong hold of who they are. But then it also means that they opened a new, maybe a small part within their ecosystem where it allows their users, loyal fans, to have a say, right? So then you can imagine a community getting like a little bit more finer, more segmented, more specific. Maybe there are certain things about their behaviors and their kind of likes that is very tailored to that particular product, right? So empowered community can mean things like them having a say, having a dialogue with the brand, and then another way is empower community also can tap into this kind of term called, I like to call it participants economy, means those community members within the empower community, maybe they have the ability to be a co-creator with the brand. And at the same time, that's great for the brand because that's going to help them be very relevant and tap into even smaller niche groups. But at the same time, it'll keep it fresh. But it also allows this idea that this brand's economy, not everything, but maybe a small portion of it, maybe a particular line or accessory or collaboration, would allow those members to also have a say, to be a part of a stakeholder, maybe can get some sort of financial gain from putting their kind of idea. So like um sort of like a user's sort of like creativity put in, but they get something in return, right? So another
mm,
thing about this empower community, a good example, and I have to go back to an old one, uh, still relevant, but an old example. So I'm in a few NFT projects, and I started to kind of narrow down into more fashion projects because that's the field that I like the most. In order for me to have a really good understanding of these communities, naturally I need to hold their NFTs. So one of the first project that completely caught my eye and that really define what I think an empower community is no other than the brand Adidas, right? So as Adidas came out with their NFT project into the metaverse. I don't know, a good 2 years ago. I think it was like November 2021 or something when it first came out, right? So I am a holder of this project. And naturally, over time, it's got very defined to kind of like a different a division, which they've also called alternative Ditas or something. I can't recall, right? ALTR or something. So where did this empower community part comes off as me as a community member in part of their Discord that's token gated, it came out to be a really interesting experience because every community member within that into the metaverse or whatever is called at the moment, it allows you to be part of this new committee called the three stripes community ambassador or committee member, right? So what that means is not only am I a loyal fan of Adidas, all of a sudden I have this opportunity to raise my hand and say, look, I'm Olivia. I'm based here in Asia. I love Adidas. I've loved it for however long. And these are my skill set. And I'm very active in the community. I raise my hand up to be part of this subcommittee where I have like weekly meetings or monthly meetings with the team from Three Stripes and talk about how to take this Web3 project forward into the next level. I mean, where else can you have this sort of such closeness to work with such a large brand and really be part of this sort of community where you have a say? Your say is important. You never know. For example, if I'm in Asia and we have an abundance of musician or young artists or young designers, I can change a young artist's life because if I'm not a committee member, but if I was a committee member of Three Stripes in the Adidas community, I can say, hey, listen here, there is a young artist by the name of this and this. I'd love to connect you and have a FaceTime call. And you never know, like this can actually mean that I help bridge between a certain segment into this Adidas stratosphere, which is something I believe this whole empower community and what I talked about, this participants economy, could be all about.
Right, right. The participants economy, I love that concept because I do believe when it comes down to how it impacts the business, it can be huge. So, for example, I remember reading these articles on the fast fashion industry and how quickly things turn around and get put out to the market, and obviously they get overstock. Who knows what happens, and just ruining the environment, right? And I always wonder, like, where do they do their actual research to figure out what do the consumers really want? When you look at the luxury brands, for sure, they're planning out at least 2 seasons ahead about what to provide, and they probably have some data of the typical things they sell that always sell, right? So they probably based on all these historical data will sell these same like lines. They I don't know, they have ready to wear stuff. They got shoes, they've got accessories, and this is kind of how they plan it. And I always thought that if you can actually get the customers to feedback, you can actually plan that much more efficient. You would have less, like aged inventory, which that you have to sell at a loss, or not at a loss, but at a lower profit margin. But it just sounds like potentially it may not be for everything, but if you can even co-create something like some of these crossover brands, right? They may do well. I never know. I don't see the numbers, so I always wonder how well do they do when they do these crossover things with celebrities or different other brands. But yeah, anyways, plain and simple. I love that because I really think it can help serve the business in a financial manner and actually operationally everything could be more efficient, and also for the users they kind of get what they want, in the community, and if they can feed into that, like be part of that process, it really makes them feel like it's almost like being shareholders of that company, right? You actually have a
Absolutely.
say. Yeah. Yeah.
actually the key point. I think previously it's the shareholders that get the immediate financial value from being a part of a large company, but now you can be a part of it no matter how big and small. It doesn't even have to be the financial reward. It's the feeling of commitment that you are a part of this growth of the brand. I think sometimes it's that kind of engage, like that connection as well, is what makes you love a brand even more.
Yeah, I totally agree because it's like you said, it's almost like you contributed to something, or like it's not financial. It's like, hey, I my idea got introduced, right? Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think are some of the challenges for organizations to even get in this realm of empowering a community? Do you think there's politics that kind of come into the play? Is it maybe not the right champion that's gonna drive this concept forward within the organization? What do you think the challenges are?
I feel like some of these brands, so I'm gonna use the bigger brands for now. I think,
Okay.
of course, there are certain brands out there that has already created their in-house Web3 team. So those ones will be definitely doing better than companies that possibly had a outside or third party Web3 marketing company or team to create their projects, because I feel like that the problem is, the challenge is to keep the consistency up and to keep those community members driven and really engaged. And it can ultimately only be done if it's like a regular dialogue. I think it's the communication. And I have to say one thing, because I'm in so many communities. In fact, I had to take a little break because that's also a reason why I can't sleep through the night. Is that a lot of these communities is there's constantly need for information too, because the problem is, one thing is it's great to be empowered community. All of a sudden, me as a member, I can raise my hand and I want to be heard, you know. And then at the same time, we have this expectation. It's this sort of change about human behavior. All of a sudden, I don't want to say entitled, but it's also like, wait a second, I brought this up. Why isn't a moderator kind of like, taking my idea and moving it forward? What has been done? Or there hasn't been any announcements in the last 2 weeks or something like that. So I think it could be both ways. It's great to open up this dual communication, but at the same time, members expect a lot. So I think brands need to kind of balance that. It's probably good to not overshare and don't deliver, but to give them surprises more often, regularly, than the other way around. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Well, let's move on to that. I think communities, I think for sure, in summary, basically communities is different these days. It's not a one-way communication. And if you do have a community, it is very difficult. I've ran communities before, as far as like maintaining that consistency, because typically you've got that champion, once again, internally in a community, who's got passion to serve the community, right? So number one, you've got to be that type of person. Are you doing it for money, or are you really serving the community? Are you really there to listen to people, or are you there to give brand perception that you're that they get to participate, right? But it really takes work. And then let's say someone moves on, right? That champion is gone. What happens to the community? It fails, right? So,
it,
yeah,
yeah, and it will take time to find the right person to take over, but then the
yeah,
expectation is to keep the same consistency or drive it to the next level.
mm,
It's very hard to find as well. On that note, I have to say, sometimes it's finding that right member and really working on that relationship. And I have a really good example. So I'm
yeah,
part of Psyche, Syky. It is a digital fashion marketplace and platform. And I am one of the keystone holders, right? So, depending on when this podcast comes out, I just want to say there is a Hong Kong Sustainable Fashion Summit happening today. So I'm one of those few keystone members that the community manager of Psyche, her name is Emily Carmelli, shout out to her. She actually put in so much heart to get to know each community member and finding that one community member that's happy to do things without any major thing in return. Like, because I'm part of the community, I want this project to be successful because I bought in, because I believe in it, you know? So that's very important. So she reaches out, she messages me, she asks me, she remembers I'm in Hong Kong. She asked me if I'm going to the fashion summit. I already said I'm going. But at the same time, she really helps me connect to the fashion designer that's going to be kind of showcasing at the fashion show and helping me make a connection to meet the fashion designer ahead of time. So before the show tonight, and at the same time, kind of like empowered me to help them make content because them themselves cannot be here. And it's a feel good, it's a good feeling because I'm helping this community by showcasing my town and what's happening here. And I hope at the same time, it helps kind of garner more of the fashion designers in Hong Kong to know about Psyche, this platform. So you're like a walking ambassador, you know what I mean? So
Mm.
tonight, I have a little brief where I'm going to go out there happily making as much content because I'm also a proud member. So I think sometimes it's really about the community manager going out of the way or with heart to really pick one or two of those top members or somebody who's willing to be part of it, you know. That's also a key as well. And you only need a good handful of these.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. It's no different than if you go into a forum or even some of these Twitter spaces that people co-host, right? These are the key people that moderate and manage what needs to happen online. So that's exactly what you're talking about. It's not like it hasn't happened before, and you're right. It's like finding those ambassadors or mini ambassadors because they should be the force to help manage the community and stimulate the conversation. It's not the brand leader, the champion actually just make sure that it's still going in the right direction or everyone is heard. It's almost like monitoring the growth and managing that. But yeah, I love that point. Excellent point.
Online
All
and
right.
offline. I mean, community has to
Yes.
be online and offline. Yeah.
Exactly. And okay, so let's go into the next part of the segment, which is around immersive commerce. And this is something, to be honest, I guess I might have heard immersive experiences before, but I think the first time I heard immersive commerce specifically was actually from you. So, why don't you give an or definition, your definition of immersive commerce, and
Oh,
what that means to a business to boost their sales or customer satisfaction?
okay. All right. So, I mean, we all heard of e-commerce, right? You know, and then of course we all hear the term metaverse. Is, you know, the number one trend word last year, but the word metaverse is starting to have a little bit sort of like, you know, pulling people back again because it's sort of like a scary intimidation and it came on too strong, you know, right off, you know, a year or two ago, right? So again, marketers or Web3 strategists are working backwards. Like, I love the I always talk about the unlimited possibilities. Like, anything can go. I still believe in that. But at the same time, if I want more people to understand this space, I gotta speak their language and talk about it in a way that's comfortable for them. So we switch gears, went back a few steps, but into ways that make them comfortable. So the word immersive commerce or I-commerce essentially is the element of some metaverse parts that fits into the general e-commerce online shopping. Okay. So for example, if you think about some of the core tenets of metaverse, it talks about things like live streaming, multiplayer, interoperability, ownership, your avatar in real life time, etc. Right? So if you think about some of those elements, but you can bring it into e-commerce, wouldn't you say that's just so much more interesting? Because e-commerce right now is a huge industry among itself. Of course, it's changed a lot. There's all this whole thing of social commerce, live streaming, so many iterations. Okay. So I think you can, if you think about it in a large way, iCommerce can encompass all of that. So everything you know about e-commerce, everything you know about social commerce and influencer marketing and affiliate partners and all that kind of stuff, throw it all in there. But then now you add in elements of things that makes it just so much more interesting. For example, you can add in elements like virtual try-on mirrors, offline. You can add in elements of 3D try on, like a filter with Snapchat, right? That's a huge business tool. You can add in elements of gaming, which we all kind of know because we're all kind of like trying to get rewards. Like you said, spin the wheel, add your email, spin the wheel. Well, you may get 20% off. Like I said, you can add in all of these elements, but immersive can talk about things like, imagine that when you walk in, and you don't necessarily need to have all of the VR, AR, haptic glove headset, that kind of stuff yet. But essentially, it is an extension of the metaverse where instead of scrolling down with your mouse on a laptop, looking at your item and scrolling left and right to look at clothing if it's going to suit you. We can use Under Armour again because you're a big Under Armour fan. Instead of seeing if this item fits you and seeing it on a model, left, like looking at the pictures, why not see it in a 360 way? And frankly, that's not new, is it? Right? We've seen it around. It's just that it's not readily deployed across all of these websites. But then imagine if you can even upload your avatar on it, and you see a hyper real avatar of you, Arthur, wearing that shirt. That could be part of this immersive commerce, because that's going to make you see that item on you in a real way, in your real body shape, and how it would look. That could be part of it. Another way is adding real lifetime gaming. Like, this is sort of a bit thinking ahead. And I mean, definitely some brands are doing it already. But imagine if you and I can meet in at the same time wherever we are on a website, Under Armour. We can use this example again, and we can toggle on and off, because I don't want to shop by myself. Maybe I want to see it in a 3D environment where I see the clothes in a live kind of a big 3D way, and I can walk by and I see other shoppers there at the same time. And then there could be something like a game that kind of pops up and says, hey, whoever can shoot the most hoops in the next 10 seconds will win 5% off at your purchase. You know what I mean? So all of this stuff are just an extension of things that we're already aware of. So I have to say, immersive commerce is nothing new. It's just adding elements that we're already aware of. It's just that we're kind of like upgrading the term. Instead of e-commerce, we have elements of 360, a little bit of AR filter that we're all comfortable with.
Okay.
Virtual mirrors, naturally with the NFT stuff. All of this could be part of the whole entire ecosystem and roadmap.
Right. When it comes to the 3D experience or virtual experience, do you find that that is best served so if you look at the customer journey, is it at the discovery stage? Because, well, it depends. Like if you're an online shopper, you can't touch and feel the product. You can't try it on with some of your outfits you have at home. Like a watch, if I'm going to buy a luxury watch, it may help. Like, oh, that looks interesting, but I still want to feel the weight on my wrist. So yeah, at what part of the process do you think the virtual piece actually fits into the customer journey?
I feel like definitely it will help discovery, So your example of watches, like frankly, if you think about it, I am a watch collector. I love watches because I used to be in the watch industry. But it could be quite intimidating to walk into a store and probably, like frankly, you might be the only one, like in the store. And it feels a little intimidating. I want to see how this watch looks on me. Now, with all of these kind of like technology updates and upgrades, it's looking to be really realistic. So no longer do you
Mm.
see this watch that doesn't match your wrist because of the sizing and everything is a little bit off. I have to say it's pretty seamless now. It feels good when you rotate your wrist. You have a pretty good feeling of how it would look. So I think just discovery, the feeling of when you see it on your phone, and even if you see it in real life, there is something that is this appreciation and this longing, is a desire. You want the watch, right? So I think there is this sort of connection. Maybe it'll bring you and drive you to the store. Maybe it's a matter of just seeing it in your phone and feel like you had a little inkling of what's it like to be wearing this kind of like you know, a very technical watch on your hand, like a tourbillon or something that you would never dare to go to a store and be like, oh, can I try on this $1 million watch? It could be a little bit of that. But to your point about the weight and everything, naturally, it may not give you that feeling. So there are some instances where no matter what technology there is, it may not give you that weight. You do want to know what you're buying, right? That heaviness of, say, the mechanical watch and stuff. So I think there is some limited use, but it's really about the emotional attachment and the first engagement. That's kind of nice too, right? But at the same
Mm,
time, trying things on help you from a e-commerce standpoint, or i-commerce, I should say. It will help you decide on a product without you overbuying. And if you think about it in the
mm,
long haul, that means less returns, and then there are less carbon footprint of things sending things back, less kind of operational cost, administration cost to put it back into the stock. So it could help your decision process a bit better.
yeah, actually, that's a perfect point. I just experienced that. I was buying on Amazon volleyball shorts for my daughter, and even though I measured her, like you just never know. And so what happened is I ordered like different brands because different brands have different sizes too, or like the fit is different. So I bought three different brands, and she tried them on, and they're too small, even though I measured her. And then so I had to return all three and buy three more, right? So it felt like a waste of time. It happens quite often, right?
One point, um, there will be more data behind it. You know what I mean? So right
Mm,
now, brands do give you that kind of like flat size chart, and it will tell you it's the same brand, different cut, different material. You haven't changed. Your size is the same, but then maybe in this pair of shorts, you're small, but in the other style, it might be extra small. Who knows?
mm,
And you still need to make the decision which one you're going to buy. So you might buy both, right? But I think
mm,
ultimately, I hope brands will start using data as a way to help determine, because they also have an understanding of your size and your fit and your need. And they can really pinpoint exactly if this is the right size. So help you decide between the sizes. I really feel like this is something that's not too far away. It's definitely
mm.
achievable.
Cool, cool. All right. Well, then talking about with the immersive experience, and you talked about NFTs, and obviously we know NFTs and PFPs. They've kind of came and went, and then it was big on art and collectibles. But actually, an NFT as a utility, I want to just talk about that. Like you know, now let's say it's not mainstream. There's still a lot of people in the world that don't know what NFTs are. How do you see NFTs can be used in a way tying into like traditional applications? Like you said, you can take a step back. How do you how do you see customers viewing the NFT? Do you think they're intimidated because they feel like it's this completely new world, or do they feel, hey, I'm with it, I'm with the times. I've got an NFT. Like, what do you think?
Okay. I think the only way it would be more mainstream is if we stop using the word NFTs. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I think the best way is if we start, as in brands and marketers, start and institutions, if we start using it to tokenize certain things, it will become a part of our life. It could be something that has a digital twin, but we have no idea what's it for. But the option is there. So when we do need to use it, we realize that, oh, it was there all along. So again, can't force somebody to like use it and understand it. It doesn't work that way. For people who are very curious minded, like myself, like it went all in. I want to know, right? I want to know the foundation of what is it, right? But the beauty of it is when people come across it in their day-to-day life without realizing it, that's when the magic happens, and that's when you start seeing that people embrace it. So I'll give you a good example, I think, um, perhaps something like NFTs shouldn't cost money. Back then, it created this huge storm because of the, astronomical prices for a JPEG, right? And of course, we all know what happened after. So that got us into the mainstream. More people hear about it. But unfortunately, that dropped, right? But imagine when NFTs don't cost anything and it becomes part of your day-to-day life. So when you go grocery shopping, right? Maybe you have your account, not even call it a wallet. It's an account with your grocer, And every time you buy and spend a certain amount of money, you get a digital collectible to say that you've made a purchase over a certain amount of money. So again, we're back to this whole loyalty CRM stuff, right? But when you have all of these NFTs or digital collectible, you maybe have access to perks and rewards, right? Maybe you get a free delivery next time, but maybe I don't need that free delivery because I'm moving. So again, it's on chain. Possibly you can trade it or sell it or something like that. So something like, say, even like your day-to-day grocery shopping, or say Starbucks is an example I use a lot. Imagine you collect things for free and you're not paying for it, but you are using it in just the way you know how. And this is not new. Starbucks, every coffee shop have the buy 9 get their 10th coffee free, right? It's on a physical card. You lose that card, it's gone. Okay, it does not belong to you, it does not belong to me. If I pick it up on the ground, on the street, I can pretty much use it, so it's there. And then we kind of got used to the apps, right? So Starbucks with the app, and now it's still the same thing. It still can deployed as an app. It's just that the item behind it is a tokenized item on chain that allows you and points that you are the owner. You are the official owner of this item until a later date, until you redeem it, So I think the best way is you will start seeing it in our day-to-day life without realizing it, and it's the best way. Yesterday, I was very lucky to teach a class at a college about immersive commerce, and the college told me that they are the first college in Hong Kong to issue certificates on NFTs. These kids don't know what to do with it, But I mean, the way I see it is a token. Is a certified token or a digital twin of your physical work that you so proudly present on your wall, right? But then now you have it on chain attached to your name or your pseudonym, and it cannot be traded because this is something that as a token you can't be traded because maybe it's a soulbound token or something like that. And it signifies that you've achieved something in your life, but it cannot be changed because technically it should be immutable, right? But who knows? Maybe one day when you need to log into that college in online, because you can't go to the physical class, it's going to ask you for your login. But instead of asking you for your email or your Google or your Facebook, maybe it's asking you to plug in your quote unquote wallet, MetaMask, the college account or something, and it instantly verifies that you are a student of this school, and therefore you have access to these online courses, events, metaverse space, etc., or a perk to get some kind of discount at the school bookstore. You see what I mean? So there are just different ways you can use it without saying that, guess what, guys, this is an NFT. That's when people like, I don't know what it is. Why are you bringing it? That's when the investigation start, and that is what happened.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that I was listening to this one podcast and they were mentioning just the vernacular that is used in Web3. So if a year or 2 years from now that we're still using the term NFT, then it's kind of like we're not doing our job to go mainstream because
Absolutely.
it just makes it, what I mean. So like to your point, I totally
And
agree. Um, yeah, I mean, someone
we
was
use the
arguing.
word
Okay,
internet. You know what I mean? Like we don't use the word, oh, I'll meet you on the internet later today. You know what I mean? Like we use
yeah,
it's the same thing. So I think with all things, when it's new, there's going to be a term. And then at some point, that term kind of gets
yeah,
like muted. And that's when it's sort of into your everyday lifestyle that you don't really use it anymore. Like meet me on the internet
right.
or. or metaverse. Like it's just it is what it is. Maybe it's a branded platform, like maybe I'll say X or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, when you just do the simple term of virtual, people actually get that it's online, digital. Just go with the what people are already used to. It's already been defined. Don't need to
I
come up
learned
with a brand new
I'm,
word.
yeah, I'm learning to just use term. Actually, it was always my mission. So all of the posts I write, I just try to keep it simple. I'm not a it's not technical. It's just everyday usages, and I relate it to things that we're already aware of.
Well, let's get into this whole thing. I wanted to do this exercise with you, and I thought it'd be fun. Um, I wanted to maybe fast forward. Let's say, imagine 2 to 5 years from now, and we are going to be the strategists or the innovators to recreate a completely new immersive experience, something completely different. It may use new technologies in the future. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I thought it'd be an interesting exercise to take something that we see today that we would love to see changed, or maybe something that you've had vision for. I would love for you to share something that you want to change and describe how this experience could be 2 to 3 years from now.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, I love the idea. Like I always talk about like it's just so many possibilities, and that's what makes this space so fun to be a part of, you know? So how I would imagine immersive commerce to be, like first of all, we have to think about the types of hardware that's readily available, the tools that we need, you know? I mean, so you see a lot of these products, like I think the Ray-Ban Meta glasses are coming out, the Apple Vision Pro, all these things. I think once those become part of our mainstream, like how iPhone is part of our constantly glued to our hands kind of thing, then we can really move ahead in this space. So how I would see the world is um, I think maybe through a good example would be like shopping, of course. That's probably a topic I love to talk about. Imagine that your everyday shopping can be done in such a seamless way that is one less thing to worry about. And it takes care of everything for you because technically in this immersive commerce and say metaverse connected user journey world, everything should be seamless, engaged, entertaining, and fun. So I think these are some of the core words, concept. So instead of like imagine if one day I'm just sitting at home and I typically get invites. Nobody sends like, paper invites anymore. You get an invite email on your WhatsApp that would say something like, "Look, listen, Olivia, a good friend, I'm getting married in Italy next month." So maybe you get an invite, right? And then as every woman would readily agree, there's never anything to wear, so you got to go shopping. So instead of like me, and I'm an online shopper, so imagine if I don't want to I don't want to go out to shop because I've pretty much shopped online my entire life. I can experience everything, but at the space of my home. So I could put on, say, Vision Pro because I'm getting that. Imagine I put on my Vision Pro and it kind of have a biometric scan of my eye, readily knows it's me, Olivia, right? And then my digital twin, because I'm going shopping, I need a hyper real version of myself, not a animated cartoon version of myself. I need something that has a good body measurement and that type of thing. Scans my an Olivia twin pops up, right? And then that's also my personal shopper. And it's going to be like, hey, Olivia, looks like you got an invite to a wedding to Italy. Well, it's going to be summer there and the weather is going to be 30 degrees. So I think scanning your closet, because I would imagine all of your clothes has an NFC chip by then and it would know what kind of items you have because everything would have a digital twin. And it would be like, guess what? You have nothing for you. Let's go shopping, right? Takes you into this 3D immersive environment where you can use your haptic glove or a scan of your eye, pick knot of your head, a beautiful dress goes onto your hyper realistic avatar, and you can spin it and kind of imagine the flow, right? And then it would come with an NFT chip. Naturally, we talked about this through our conversation. Once you buy the item, the NFT will take you to a whole different kind of world. But right now, we're talking about the physical clothes. Imagine that you kind of decided that you want to buy this physical clothes in this immersive space, and then all of a sudden a dialogue box pops up and be like, "Hey, listen, Olivia, we have a runway contest. You know, you and other avatars in this real-time space will have a runway, catwalk, and people who don't want to participate, like say Arthur, right? You're there shopping as well. You can vote and participate as an empowered community, and you may get a reward for voting, who knows, for a point or something. So then just when you're about to buy something, a game idea pops up to engage you more, to spend more time in their world, and you strut your avatar however which way, and of course, ta-da, I won, right? I won this avatar runway walk competition, and it says, well, because you won, you get 20% off this purchase immediately. Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe I'm like, oh, this is super, so I shake my head. It's a seamless checkout, and I imagine that I don't even want it to come to my house, because God forbid the doorbell rings a lot and my husband's gonna be like, again, you gotta buy stuff again, so it may go straight to the hotel, knowing that I've already booked the hotel spot and I'm going to end up there. Again, it's a connected, hyper personalized, customized experience. It will just show up there. It's going to be a perfect fit because it's already know through data that this is the perfect size for me. And
Yeah.
I arrive and it's right there. So that's sort of how I would see this perfect journey could look like in the next couple of years.
Yeah. I'd like to add, it would be kind of nice also that you can invite like people into the world so they can see, and vote on it. I do agree with the voting one. Or you could set up something where, you know how they used to have these things where it's like Tinder, right? Where basically, yes, I like it, I don't like it, I like it, I don't like it, and then that's part of the participation. So you have these
Yep.
runway shows, and all that does, it feeds more data into the system of what people like, and then you have access it to maybe give yourself more confidence. It's like, yeah, people think it looks good on me, right? I will buy it, right? So it helps in your decision making. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. All right. Well, okay. So I think we're going to end the podcast there. I want to thank you so much. We spent an hour. Actually, this is longer than I expected. You know why? Because you had a lot of good things. I mean, it's a great conversation, really easy. I can easily go for another hour, to be honest. Uh, but anyways, yeah, thank you for joining us at the Startup Voyage podcast. And yeah, I'd love to catch up with you again, or maybe if you've got any new project that you would like to share, just give me give me a message. Yeah, yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Arthur. It's really a pleasure to be on your podcast.
Hey, so that concludes this episode of the Startup Voyage podcast. I would like to thank all of you for listening to this episode, and I'd really appreciate it if you leave any type of comments that you'd like to share, because it helps to feedback on how I deliver these podcasts, and I definitely want to improve it to continue to add more value to the audience. Now, you can follow us on many of the popular podcast channels: Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Equally, I'm going to be uploading all these episodes onto YouTube. So it's more than just audio, it's video. You can see everyone's faces. Look, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. And I'm always open to new ideas or looking for new guests. So if you know anyone in the space of Web3 that is an influencer or a leader or someone who's really trying to shape what Web3 will be in the future, I'd love to hear from them. All right. So yeah, just comment below. You can DM me. I have all my information in the details underneath this podcast episode. So yeah, thank you for joining me today, and have a great one. See you in the next episode.